Hi guys, I hope you are all well. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Pascaline Chao, and this is where we get to talk about motherhood and mental health. And today, as I had promised you, we are going to be having a very powerful story, and we're going to be sharing Sylvia story. And I hope that you're going to learn something from her stories. I would want to invite Sylvia to just tell us who she is first before we start talking about her.
Thank you, Pascaline, for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Sylvia. I am a mother of 3 boys. Most of all, that's my first career, motherhood.
Yes.
I'm a businesswoman. I'm a graphic designer and a brand consultant. I run a company called Tech Hub Holdings. I am also the founder of Andy Speaks for Special Needs Persons. You'll get to know why. I am the patron for Scouts in Makadara Sub-County. I'm currently reigning as Miss Africa Elite, Miss Africa United Nations, and Elite Face of Africa. So I know that's quite a handful. So on top of that, I'm a Rotarian with the Rotary Club of Motaiga, and in that space, in leadership, I am the Assistant Rotary Public Image Coordinator for Africa Zone 22.
You do quite a lot. Sylvia, I'm just here worrying and just saying, this is an amazing woman. Like, you're doing all that, and you're also a mom. You know, like, motherhood in itself is just another job.
It's a job.
Yes, and it's not like a small kind of job. It is a big time job.
That's why I
so
think
being able to do all those other things, you're doing well.
I try.
Sylvia, I decided July that I wanted to just educate moms in regards to their mental health. And I wanted to do that through telling our stories. I have suffered postpartum depression, and I did share my story on different platforms. And I felt like it is a very powerful way of just helping other moms out there who have been in our shoes realize they're not alone. And so that's the reason why we are giving this series of our stories. And thank you so much for hitting our call. Yes, to share your story. It is not an easy thing, by the way. Maybe I should just also mention that. Telling our stories of when we had our very difficult moments is not always an easy thing to do.
And also looking at it in the African context, remember, it's also taboo to talk about mental states. You're supposed to like suck it up and be the big girl, wear the big girl skirt, and everything is gonna be fine.
Yeah,
yes,
true. So you having said, yes, I will give my story is a big deal, and we really appreciate that. Yeah. So you said you are a mother to 3 children.
Yeah.
How has that been?
It's been a journey of experience. Every day is a learning process. You get curveballs that you have to navigate. That, and remember, you don't even have a manual. No one tells you this is how raising a child is like. And if that's anything to go by on my side, I think God decided He's going to double it up for me. And of my 3, He gave me 2 special needs kids. So yeah, it's mine is a layer, one thing on top of another. So it's challenging, but it's about how you embrace it. So for me, I choose every challenge to become a learning, stepping stone to elevate my performance, my parenthood, what it is that I want to, and not giving up on myself and my children also. So it's been quite an interesting journey.
So your special needs children are your what one?
My second and third.
Your second and third.
Yes.
So tell us about when you first realized, did you know that you're going to have a special needs child with your second, or did you just realize they are special needs when you already had them? And how was that for you?
Here in Kenya, as opposed to the West, they can tell sometimes. And remember, when it's autism, because mine is autism and it's an invisible disability, so it's not something they can actually tell unless you do a genetics test before. We're not yet there, that's for sure, and it's very expensive. So some of these things is when you've already started. And I think if I look back and I look at those moments, I never got to, when there was all these other challenges, because he had a very hard first few years of after his birth. We miss out on such. So every time I look at photos and I'm like, oh my God, he was so cute. But see, at that time I was worrying about, oh my God, he has gastro issues. Oh my God, he lactose intolerance. Oh my God, reflux and all those things that you miss out on those precious moments, But yeah, learning about it was way later. But we had a very many challenges. But by the time it is pronounced like this is the case, that was like 3 years into it. Because the first thing we had convulsive disorders. For when he was like 3 months old thereabout. Whereas I can say it started early, but the full first very shocking because the others were just, jitters, and no one was telling me what it is. I was just told the first, because I was focusing on all these other issues he was having. They said, oh, it's just a habit, it's gonna go away. You know the way we make assumptions. Yeah. Then until now, the real devil showed up. And well, at that point, you just deal. You just have to deal. And so the in between my first and my second, I can say I've had 5 kids because before my firstborn I'd lost one. Between my second and third, my first and second, I lost another in between. And that loss is one of the greatest down moments in life because you see right now you sit back and you're like, I lost the first, I got the second, I've lost the second, will I ever get any other? And there is always the pressure of when is the next one coming? And at that time we were having turbulence in marriage also because you see we were married early, you're discovering yourself, you're defining yourself. So it was quite a bit difficult, and topped up with that I've just lost this. They call it blighted over. When you have a child growing, then all of a sudden the child is not growing anymore, and it's just a thing. There's no heartbeat, no whatever, so they have to remove it. And it's not an easy experience, it's quite traumatizing and painful. So that was when my downward spiral started. And because at that point now you start feeling not worthy. You're like, what did I do wrong somewhere? Is there something that I did not deliver to God to deserve, So and remember when they say the mind is quite a powerful tool, all the things that you say to yourself at that point, all the things that you start believing, they actually actualize. So from this outgoing bubbly person, you start withdrawing. All the things you've told yourself, you're not worthy, you're better off not being in this world. And I went through that, and at that time you're still trying to fix your marriage and whatnot so that things go back to normal. And normal, I don't know why we call things normal. Every journey is unique. True. So apart from that, it took a while, but it got to one point where I just felt I couldn't do it anymore, and I opted to end my life. So I remember that morning what I did. I went to the office, because it's something you think about.
This is when you have 3 babies already?
No. I just have one child. Okay. I've lost another, plus I've lost the first one. So I was still a mother of one. And it just felt I'm at this crossroad that's not making sense in life, but then, you don't feel worthy. And so I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to commit suicide. And you plan, you think of the options, to you, you're walking, no one could tell. I would still go to work normally. I just do my things. When you're talking, you just smile. So it's usually such a big monster that's within you that eats you up a bit, very slowly, but in very intense ways. Because looking back, if I look at all the things and I'm like, no one noticed, I didn't notice, So of course I decided, okay, the easiest way, I went to work like anyone else that morning and carried the tablet I was going to. I texted my goodbyes to those I believed that were worth the while. I texted one good friend of mine.
Did you tell them what you're about to do?
No, I did not. I don't know. I tell you, it's a very weird place to be in. Then one of them was like, please don't do anything. Just go to this place, I'll meet you there. He called anyone who was around, and it was like, okay, just just keep the person there until I show up. And then I stayed there, but then you see, the world is still moving, you're still hurting, nothing is better. So when they're just telling you what not to, no one knew where to put the tablets because they're like, so tells me, please give them to me, don't do this. They got a phone call and stepped aside for a second, and that's when I popped the medications. And I just remember waking up I just remember being in AAR. I remember being in an ambulance, and that was, I think I blacked out or something. And next time I woke up, I was at Avenue. Apparently, they pumped out the medication. My family was there, and you wake up and you ask, like, why the hell did I die? Now I have to face this whole, And then when the doctors come, they start telling you, it's an offense. We should take you to the cops. I'm like, so how are you helping me? Because that's the other problem with mental issues and the community at large. We don't look at the cause. We don't. We're more condemning and we're more into that space of, you know, what were you thinking and kind of thing. So anyway, I was told. I remember I just used to wake up, eat, get medicine, black out, wake up. It was like a routine. You become like a zombie. So I'd see my mom, my who, but nothing made sense. I actually couldn't feel emotions for no one. I'd lost my emotional connection with the world totally. I remember I'd gone through a similar experience losing the child. Here again, I'm going through something else. So you're in a life where you're not in control. It feels like you're not in control, rather. And after that, I remember being taken to my parents' place. I wasn't even allowed to go back to my own house. And I was taken there, like, because I woke up and I'm like, why am I here and I have my own house? They're like, you need constant care, your mother is the one who can give you, your son is here.
So your son is with your mother at that point?
Yeah, so my son was brought.
Where is your husband at this point?
He was still back in the house, so he would come say hi on and off, And I remember one day my dad blasting me, why did you, no. And I'm thinking like, I just packed my things and left. And I was like, why am I doing this? I have my own house, At that time, because at that time you just need understanding. You need someone to care a bit to understand where you're coming from, as opposed to all these whys, because you have your own reasons. It might not make sense to the world anyway, it never does. But in your world, everything made perfect sense at that point.
At that point, you're just thinking about your struggles, everything that is happening to you.
And so even after that, I left. I just I remember going back home and my hubby was like, I don't know if this will work, I'm trying to make it work and whatnot. I'll take the baby, and then I was like, whose baby? Next day, very reactive. I was very reactive. I was delicate, but that was not what, like when he came and found me home, what are you doing here? I'm like, why is it that I will not have this, because the world treats you in a very different way that makes you wish that you actually had died.
Yeah,
Do you understand?
Yeah, true.
So it's adding on top of adding. So what I did is I just called my boss, said, I'm done. I'll be taking leave. I need my salary. I'm an articulate and a planner. so I planned myself. I was like, okay, I went to your house, got myself passport for my son, a passport, because all of you are making your all. And I left for Uganda for a while. I switched off my phone. Really? Like, totally. Yes. I just needed a reset. But I'm not getting that opportunity of fitting into this space. And I remember at that point, my boss is the one person, when I put on my phone, of course you can tell who tried to call you, who tried to call you. And he was the only person who I felt was empathetic of how he was receptive. He was, we are here for you, this is what you're thinking, what are you thinking, why would you do that? And I'm like, why you stop attacking? Like just be sympathetic. It was crazy, but anyway, over time, because I already had my medications and stuff, I was still taking my medication. It took a while. I stayed out for a while until I felt I was ready. Of course, that will cause a strain also to this marriage that was already turbulent. And but you move on with life, try to make things work. After a while, I stayed alone for a bit, then try to work things out, of course, with my ex. Then now that's when you told, by the way, after a while, I was like, you're pregnant. You're like, oh my God, am I ready for this? But it's okay, it's welcome. This is what everyone wanted, right? So work things out, I get my baby. And it was an okay pregnancy throughout. We had worked things out, we were together after all the issues. Because of course, after that, when I came back, we split up.
How long were you
in Uganda? I took almost a month. Almost a month. Then I came back, of course, I went back to my house. He had left, packed my things, restarted afresh. And after a few whatevers, we were like, okay, let's try and work things out. We came back together, and in the process of that, that's how I got pregnant with my second child. But then in the middle of that, there was still a lot of, sometimes when they say there are negative forces that are always out for you, because it never makes sense what happened. Like, yes, I'm pregnant, we're trying to work it out, and then still we split again. And I'm like, why the hell are we even? It doesn't make sense to you at all, some of these things. And I was like, you can't do too much. I was like, you know what, if you're living, because of course your things have been piling up and everyone is delicate. Because we're just talking, this is a span over here. So I said, I'll raise my babies anyway. I'm hardworking. I won't fail. Then I remember at some point our parents sat us down, like, yo, you think you're the only people with issues in this world? You better make this work. And you're like, okay, yes, I have a baby. I have to look out for. They need both of us. And we decided, okay, let's give it a shot. Round 3. They say. Round. So baby comes, then that's when now, like I said, the baby had so many issues. And throughout this time, you're trying to balance. I had gotten okay, I'd gotten off meds, I'd gotten off therapy. I was fine. Because now you understand. The good thing is sometimes in talking is like you learn how to know your indicators and understand what is, and seeking help. Because sometimes when you talk things out, you get over it easier. So I remember baby came, it was quite stressful. And when you're being told, oh, this child is special. So I remember the day I was told my son is a special needs child. The same day, or it's the day before, day after, like within those 3 days, I was told you're pregnant.
Oh no.
Like you're just killing me and building me at the same time. Because I'm like, I'm not ready for this. Because you see, I'm still healing. I'm still trying to work on this marriage. And then here you are telling me I have a special child. Then you're telling me there is another child. You're telling me to stop breastfeeding this child who's already stressful enough. He was only 6 months old.
Oh wow.
Yes, he was only 6 months at the time. So that's now it was now a downward spiral. So of course trying to think all these things because you feel like the world is against you. Normally when you're told you have a special needs child and they will require this, then they start digging onto history. And there is nothing worse when now you have to go back and ask your parents like, did you guys have an issue? Did you guys have an issue? It just makes things so uncomfortable in a relationship. But anyway, we dealt slowly, but for me I was thinking, I was not ready to have that child. I was not ready because I was still dealing with this baby. And then I'm thinking, looking at the space as developing myself, he was finding himself, there was no stability for me to feel like this child should come into this phase. But so I told my mom, it's either I can't do this. I want to get rid of this child. I told my friend, the closer circles, and I was like, I can't do this. And no one is seeing it from my point of view because my mom was like, you just give birth and give me the baby. I'm like, but I still have to carry this baby, And my friend is like, we understand you, whatever you choose if you want to, but you need to make sure you make a decision, as soon as possible. Like, even where do you do? Then you remember. No, the past never leaves you. I remember I nearly committed suicide because I lost a baby. Now I have a baby, I don't want this baby. So Sylvia, what do you want? But at that point, that's not. It's like a tug of war in your mind, and I could feel myself going down that space again. And I couldn't help it. And I went down and I chose the downward spiral. And looking back and knowing what I knew, sometimes I feel all these emotional strains contributed to getting special needs children. You understand? Because pregnancy is very important. That time you need peace of mind, body and soul aligned. You don't need this drama, side shows and whatnot. Because my first son was fine. It's fine. It's 100%. It's happy family, happy pregnancy, happy baby, perfect baby. Look at the journey and really quit my job personally. I'd quit my job to start a business because my child needed a lot of attention. So it feels like the world is crashing one at a time. Like they're just breaking walls there. And anyway, I picked myself up, continued. But then, of course, my marriage didn't survive this time round. So I gave birth to my son, and my marriage had already started ending because we drifted, we're not talking as much as we should. Over time, as much as people say finance doesn't contribute, it contributes a big deal in a marriage, and because that means providing for the family. That means the man being the man of the house, being, there is only so much sometimes you can do. And as much as we like turning away and hiding the story and saying that's the fact, it will bring issues. You, as much as you might not want it to, it will. So just drifting, and when the baby came, I'm thinking, I have this child who's constantly on medication, constantly in hospital. Then I get this other child before time. He was born preterm, so he was in HDU for a while. You're looking at where you are, because now I've quit my job. This guy has just quit his job, and you're like, okay, where are we going? The life was just not. It's just, the times you say, God, I did not sign up for this. This is not my portion. This is not why I'm here, And you're looking at this tiny thing that has just come. Totally dependent. Because that's when you go to the incubator. I remember when I got out of surgery and I woke up and I started working. Because on the back of my mind, I know if I don't get this done, I'm going to get messed up. And true to the word that for living, you're looking at the bill and you don't have the money to pay for it. I had to call people to try and get me out of this. And that's when you realize you're alone. Anyway, got out, cut short, baby survives, but then later now you realize he's not developing as he should and stuff like that. Then, trust me, it took second years when you're taking this one for diagnosis, and then you're told, okay, there's a probability your second child will also be, and you're like, no, I don't want to hear it. Okay, I denied it. It was deny, and sadly, 3 weeks after, 2 weeks after, 2 weeks after, I had to go for another surgery because I was unwell. So I went for a second surgery 2 weeks after the baby was born. And 1 week later is when my marriage officially ended. Remember my son was 3 weeks. And you're in this space where you have nowhere to go. And remember the sad thing of when you're married early, your friends tend to, them they're still in campus, your course. So me, I was in a different, so I couldn't say I had friends. I only had like one friend, and all my ex's friends had become my friends. And of course, when it ends, everyone else goes.
Yes.
So you're alone. Because I remember my cousin telling me, you need to go back home. And me being a stickler for life and its chronos, I was like, no way am I going back. So I remember being homeless for a few seconds, calling my friend, like, I just need a place to sleep until I can figure this thing out.
With your kids?
And with 2 surgeries, a 3-week-old child, 2-year-old, and I think a 4 to 5-year-old. Wow. That time I was 40-something kilos. So you look like you borrowed all these children. Because after delivery I just plunge and lose weight, and then I was going through so much that my body could not hold it. So anyway, I remember that now that's another downward hill, but I was like, I'm not going down this road. I refuse it. So it's very important to be able to identify, because I'm like, look, these kids need me. I'm here. They're all so small. It's either you make it or make it. Simple. No two ways to it. And let's just say it was not the first, the second, or the third, and the last time to go through the depression, because it's usually you overcome it. It can linger, but you need to identify when it comes again. Because now, even when I go through these days, I don't get a lot of that. But during now, I'm divorced. I'm trying to get my stuff together, because there's a time you're like, oh my God, I have nothing to feed these children. I'm leaving my house. I don't know how I'm going to come back at the end of the day. Those were the hardest. Those were the hardest days of my life.